welcome to the Ultimate Supply Chain podcast. As the name suggests, this is a series where we'll explore a whole range of industry trends and issues relating to the supply chain subject, from digitalization, labour shortage and robotics, right across to innovation and e-commerce. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Louise Barber, Head of Global Marketing here at DHL Supply Chain. Today, I'm delighted to kick off our series with a topic that is rarely out of the headlines these days. It's a real concern and a talking point amongst global leaders at world summits and amongst generation members in almost every aspect of their lives, whether that's social, political or cultural. I am, of course, talking about ESG. And I'm so pleased to have Florence Noblo with me today, Head of ESG here at DHL Supply Chain. Welcome, Florence.
Welcome, Louise. Thanks. Nice to meet you.
Can you kick off by giving us a brief introduction of your career here at DHL?
Sure. Well, I've been more than 25 years at DHL. I started with DHL Express in France and in sales role. And I've been moving through the sales, different kind of role with global account management. Then I've been having a team. I've been living in different parts of the world. I've been spending 5 years in Brussels and then 5 years in Asia Pac, in Singapore and Shanghai. And then I came back and I have been then the managing director for DHL Express in France. And for the past 5 years, I've been now with DHL Supply Chain. And since June, in charge of ESG for the division. So quite a journey within DHL.
So you've obviously been in a number of different locations, Florence, and covered a number of roles whilst you've been in DHL. What changes have you seen in terms of our focus on ESG over that period?
Well, I think the first thing that has changed, it's because the group has made a commitment to be carbon neutral by 2050. And I think as a group with more than 550,000 employees, we do really feel responsible and having to act on our planet, but not only on our planet, on our employees and the governance of it. So this is really the biggest change that I've seen. We had our Go Green solution since 2007, but it was mainly on the environment. We now have really an act on the S and the G, which we can talk further.
So what are the ESG challenges that our customers are facing?
Well, I think our customers have made commitment as well to the world, right? So more than 2,000 of them have signed the SBT target, which is a science-based target, which we are signing as well, which means that we are committing to decarbonize, as I said, either by 2050, 2030, it depends on the industry you're in. So our customers are looking for suppliers and companies that can help them in their journey. So the first thing that they are looking for is to make sure that you can offer the technologies that are going to be helping them to go down to zero carbon. But the second is as well to make sure that you as a company to support them can provide transparency and really visibility of anything that you are going to be doing. Because I think this is something that we usually miss when we talk about ESG. G is the governance, and that's really something that becomes much more visible for investors, employees, and of course, customers.
Yeah, I guess this is one of those rare subjects where we are both a provider and a participant in the outcome of something that is as universal as ESG. And one of the questions I was going to ask you that I think you've partially answered is all businesses are saying they're serious about sustainability, but how do we go about proving it? And I guess that's that governance issue that you were just referencing there.
Yeah, governance is really about providing visibility, providing data, demonstrating that your company is trusted, that you have everything in place to protect data, for example, to protect against cyber attack. But not only that, I mean, under governance, you have as well something which is really important, which is human rights. And as we are a global company, we operate in many countries where we need to ensure that, what we are doing for our employees is the right thing. So this is governance is really something that becomes more and more of a concern for our customers. And I think as a global company, we are lucky to say that, we do have a code of conduct in place, and we do ask as well our suppliers to go through this code of conduct and to sign it. And if they don't, then we will make decision, because we cannot tolerate any deviation for our suppliers, which is going to be really what customers are looking for.
It's great to hear that we're doing that, Florence. Typically, how do our customers organise themselves around ESG? And I guess really what I'm asking is, do they have a Florence? Is there a focused ESG role with most of our customers these days?
Yeah, I think, we've seen some new roles appearing in our customers' organization. Usually, the most visible one for large companies is the head of sustainability, or the a chief sustainability officer. Usually they are either part of the board or they report to different functions, but those roles are becoming much more visible in the large organization. They are really responsible to execute and implement the sustainability that their company have decided. And of course, they would, for our business, they will work hand in hand with, of course, supply chain, because usually it's about supply chain, but as well with HR, because they cover the S pillar, the social pillar, and governance is either with finance or with as well with everything which has to do with legal. So those roles are becoming more visible in our customers' organization than what we could have seen, I would say, even 3 years ago, for sure.
So look, that's a really visible investment for every organisation that is working towards their ESG agenda there. Talking of investment, here's the tricky one. Who pays typically? Sustainability has to involve cost, of course it does. So who pays? Is it DHL? Is it the customer? Where does that investment sit typically?
It's a very good point, and a tricky one, as you say. So we have, as a group, we have decided to invest 7 billion euros by 2030. It's a huge investment. But as we know, all of us, right? The technologies, they keep evolving. So the technology that I have today in EV, electric vans, for example, or solar panel, or anything is probably good today, but you already have companies and startups working on new technologies. So hydrogen, for example, there's a lot of research on hydrogen, a lot of pilots, but they may not only be available by 2030. So I think, it's not possible to think that, we will only invest, we as a company will only invest. Usually, people do understand that you have to collaborate, we have to work all together to actually really push and boost the technologies that are going to have an impact on the planet, because it's not only the topic of Deutsche Post DHL, I think it's really the topic of our customers, and the one who are really serious, concerned, acting on this sustainability topic, do understand that we have to collaborate, we have to share those investments, because it's just too much going on.
Sure, and look, you mentioned at the top of our conversation, Florence, that the E is probably the bit of ES&G that is most understood. So if we could move a little bit more towards the S and the G now, how can supply chain support the S part, the social agenda in ES&G?
Well, as I said, we are a large group. Even within supply chain, we have 150,000 employees. There's few things that we are doing. So the first thing is we do an employee opinion survey every year in September. We had that in place now for quite a huge number of years. But
good old EOS.
Yeah, and our target is to have 80% score on employee engagement. So really, we want to hear from each of our employees. We want them to tell us, what they think, what have we done right, what should we do differently? Is our company a great place to work? Is the facility designed for them to feel energized when they come to work? Do we have the right training? Do we, how do we compare against other companies? Would they recommend us to work for? And so this is really what we want to hear from our employees. So we do that every year. We take it very seriously, and we're acting on it. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we do as well, which has to do with health and safety. In supply chain, we operate, we have sites, and in those sites, it could be quite, you have to be cautious, you need to wear special equipment, you need to wear those boots, which are going to be protecting yourselves, and because you have forklift moving around. And what we are looking at is to reduce the LTIFR to below 3.5 by 2025. Today, I can proudly say that as supply chain, we are much better than our competition. We probably have the best score from the industry, but this is really something that we take very seriously. And I can say as well that there's no board starting without looking at those scores, which really say that this is something we really care for. We care for our employees. We want to make sure they come into a safe environment. So LTIFR, which is lost time injury frequency rate, we want this to be below to 3.1 by 2025.
So what about diversity and inclusion, Florence? Where does that sit in the S pillar?
It's a very important topic. So the first thing that we have been committing to is the women in management. So today we're at 23%. We are in 2022. And the commitment that we made is to be at 30% by 2025. Still a bit of a journey, but we do a lot because we do, identify the talent that wants to grow with us, and we are, looking at how we can actually support them in growing and developing themselves to reach the jobs where they would be in higher position. But the second thing that is really important as well is on diversity and inclusion is the campaign that we have launched throughout 2021. We had a campaign which is called I Am Diversity, and we did ask as many of our employees to actually just be visible and record themselves on a short video and explain what means a diversity for them. And I think this is really how we can foster, this change in our culture and make sure that, everybody can feel themselves when they come to our organization. So that was really a very critical, I would say, campaign that we launched last year in 2021.
It was super powerful, wasn't it? I mean, you just don't think every day about putting yourself in somebody else's shoes until a campaign like that forces you to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. There were lots of colleagues that I came into contact with through that campaign that I've known quite well and didn't know some of the aspects of their lives that may have been holding them back or they may have been struggling with. It was, just brilliant. Lots we can do and continue to do around that, I think. So, Florence, look, you talked a little bit about safety first, which is, as we know, a really critical element of all our operations and one that we perform really well in. So, Florence, can you talk a little bit about our Go Teach program?
Yeah, so Go Teach is part of our corporate social responsibility program, which we launched pretty much at the same time as when we launched Go Green, I think in the late 2010, something like that. And Go Teach is actually, we offer anybody in the countries to support with their own initiatives. So what is close to their heart. Mm-hmm. And Go Teach is really to help educating communities who don't necessarily have access to it. So, and that really comes from, as I said, the employees of that country, feeling for what they feel the best is to support education. I'm saying education, but it can be, providing books, providing pens, spending some hours with teenagers who don't really know what to do with their career plans. I've been as well doing myself, helping so some young people who have done their studies but don't know how to do a resume, for example. So those are the initiatives that are really, I think, are great, because anybody can do it. If you feel for it, you can just go and ask to your country. And the group is actually investing a lot in what we call CSR, because it's 1% of our profit. And I think it's really it's amazing to see how much that is, because this is really initiatives that any employee can take and do with their own country and what they feel for.
Yeah, it strikes me that the subject of ESG is one that very much impacts both the head and the heart. There are lots of rational reasons why we should get involved in an ESG program, but also these are emotional reasons that very much resonate with individuals as well as, as I said, world leaders and big business people. ESG is something that affects us all, and everybody has a responsibility to play a part in making positive changes there. And everybody has their own story and their own reason to get involved. So Florence, what should the supply chain industry as a whole be doing more of to support the ESG agenda?
Well, I think, the first thing is really around the E1, and we know we don't want to talk only about the E1, but the E1 is the most visible, I would say, and probably the most urgent to act on. So I think we need to make sure that we keep on challenging and working on innovation and what are going to be the new technologies that we should actually test and implement. So, is it, as I mentioned, is it hydrogen? Is that biogas? It's about making sure that we get access to all those technologies in every market, because today it's probably not the case. And if we need to act, we need to act globally. So for me, that's one thing. The second thing as well, for example, is packaging, right? There's with the rise of e-commerce and everybody willing to receive, their packages at home. We need to make sure that our packages are sustainable, reusable, and we need to have the logistics around that. So that, for me, is as well a very big part of what we can do and how we can support our customers. And I think when it comes to the other pillar on S, for example, I think we need to make sure that we can give access to as many people to join our company if they want. But another example of what we've done in diversity is in Brazil. DHL Supply Chain is now having more than 100 women driving electric vans, and this is really something that we want to initiate in many other countries as we can, because it brings actually the diversity to more than 30%.
So Florence, thank you so much for joining me today on this, the first of our Ultimate Supply Chain podcasts. And thank you too for tuning in. I hope you found this first edition useful. Don't forget to tune in for future editions on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of your other favourite streaming platforms. And of course, leave us any thoughts, comments, or ideas for future subjects that you'd like to be covered. Thanks again for tuning in. Stay safe and speak soon.